Hi, everybody. It's Julie Noonan. This is my very first show, my inaugural episode. I'm so excited to have you here on Roaming with Restless Women. I have the pleasure of introducing my friend, my former colleague, and Libby Pollock, who lives in near Atlanta, Georgia. We used to work together a long time ago. And when I was thinking about this, she was the first person that popped into my mind because I so enjoy keeping up with her on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on all the places, all the social places we go anymore. Libby started her career as a consultant with Accenture, and then she moved over to the Atlanta practice of North Highland, where we met and where we live, where we used to work together. Then she went to be the global VP of change at Assurant and also global VP of change and strategy at Habitat for Humanity. Now she is the change practice lead at Stratfield Consulting. So she's had tons and tons of experience in consulting change management, which is how we met. I'm also a change manager. And we are both focused on empowering women and empowering girls because it's about time. She is a mentor. She is a voracious learner. I know this from personal experience. She was a great colleague and also a great friend. So welcome, Libby. Thank you for joining me.
What a kind introduction, Julie. Thank you so much for having me.
No, I'm very happy to have you. I'm just thrilled. So, most important aspect of your career that you can think of that tells the story of Libby. How did you start thinking about what you like to do over your career? How did you figure out what was that red thread? What was that thing that you really like doing that has appeared in all of your jobs?
That is a great question. And the thread is definitely all about change and transformation. And that's probably similar for you, Julie, being in change management. And when you think about being a change management consultant, we're usually talking about organizational change, but a company or an organization can't change unless the individuals within that company individually change. And a lot of times that's changing their mindsets, which is hard, and changing their behaviors. And we know that in our personal lives, so that's hard. And I was going to say obsessed. Maybe it sounds better to say I'm passionate about change and transformation. I just love to learn about how we can make it easier for people and for ourselves. And I think that there are so many opportunities in our life I think it's about being aware and then accepting whatever's happening in the world around us and then deciding that you're going to make a change. And that deciding is so important. And I think that I've had a really cool opportunity to reinvent myself a couple times along the way. And I still think I have a few more reinvented Libby's left in me. That's what I would say. It's all about just forever changing and
Absolutely.
trying to be a better version every day, every year.
What have you heard from your clients and your colleagues lately about the pace of change?
Oh, goodness. I even just comparatively of what I've seen in the last 25 years is now, if you're not changing, you're dying, as they say. So you have got to be changing. And so often my ears are always attuned to all of the reasons why people don't want to change or leaders don't want to change or well, this is the way we've always done it kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work anymore. The companies, they're not only are they not going to thrive, but they're not going to survive if you're not constantly changing.
And how have you found that message resonating with your clients? Because I, for one, I don't think they're where we are yet. We're early adopters just by definition, right? I am not finding very many people that have woken up to this new reality quite yet. What about you?
I have had some really evolved clients
Oh,
who, who really get it. I actually was just telling a story I think it was earlier today that about one of my clients right now, she had the wherewithal as she and her team have created this app for team members that is this gorgeous solution for team members, thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of team members across the country.
Wow.
And it's beautiful and it has all the shiny bells and whistles. And she knew that she needed change management help, that even though they've created this really shiny, beautiful
Mhm.
solution, that didn't mean that people were actually going to use it. And she had to sell that to her leaders, and they struggled with it at saying,
Mhm.
I've seen your prototypes. This is amazing.
If I tell them
Yes,
to do it,
it's
they'll
going to be
do
great.
it.
Everyone's going to want it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
the boss,
you did that
you
too,
know,
right? Well, just tell
exactly.
them. Yeah.
What,
Yes.
what else do
We'll
we
tell
have to
them, or
do?
if we build it, they will come.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
it's a little
I
insane.
know how life is. Yeah, it's silly when you really step back and you think about it. Everyone's human, and we all have so many things coming at us so fast these days that I don't care if you just created the most beautiful, perfect app for me. I'm going to need to be talked into using it. What's in it for me? So anyways, I have this client who's just really asserted the need, and because of that has had one of the most successful launches that this company has ever had. Not all clients are like that, but I've certainly seen a little bit more evolution
Yeah.
along the years. But
Yeah.
to your point, many clients have said, I'm just going to tell them, or they're just going to be happy because they still have a job kind of mentality. It's like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the things that I've seen too over the last, since I think since COVID, more than anything, is a lot more people are understanding that they can't know everything, that they can't absorb everything. And that's causing them stress as well, because they're used to being the subject matter expert or the expert in something. And anymore, information is coming from everywhere, and they feel like they can't keep up, and they're getting stressed out about it. Have you run into any of that kind of stress with your clients? And what have you done to help out with that?
yes. Oh my goodness. I feel like there's so much more anxiety. It's not just I feel, there's data to prove that since COVID,
Mm.
there's so many more mental health issues and so much more anxiety for sure. Yes, I do see that. And maybe I think more insecurity is creeping in where it's more visible, perhaps. But
Hmm.
to think that you have to know everything, it's sometimes we just take ourselves so seriously and forget that there are so many other people who want to help, who they can help round us out. And we got Google. You ever have a question? You don't have to wonder too long. You can look things up. But to think that you have to know everything is, I don't know, I think we need to give ourselves a break. Pick one little thing then that you can go deep on, perhaps, and focus there, but don't try to do it all.
Yeah, it's really interesting when I talk to Gen Z and Gen X or the millennials. They're like, I don't have to know everything. What are you talking about? You're so old school. And
I mean, I
includes my
feel like,
kids too.
yeah, the differences in the generations, and maybe it's just as I'm getting older and my kids are getting older, that it's just so much more apparent to me.
Mhm.
But the things that kids and college age kids these days, how they feel and what they go through is so different.
Oh, very different, very different. So let me move us on into maybe some challenges that you have faced. So being a senior women leader, regardless of age, regardless of company, regardless of industry, getting up there in ranks as you have, what has been some of the barriers that you feel like that you have had to overcome, or some things that you've had to reset yourself about when you've learned new things as you go along?
I do believe that women have more challenges in the workplace and more of these really small biases against them. And the truth is that women hold these beliefs as well as men.
Oh, we
And
do it
these
to
little
ourselves.
tiny, we do it to ourselves, or we've bought into these societal myths.
Yes.
And then these little tiny microaggressions, they add up. And then what I think is the hardest thing is that little voice in our heads.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we're moving so quickly and not always tuning in to what that voice is saying and that chatter. And I don't mean that deep voice within us, the wisdom, that the bitch who's constantly just negative. You can't, you shouldn't, you're too this, you're too that, all of the things. And that's the
Mhm.
constant thing that we're hearing in our heads. And I think that's what limits us, that sometimes we get in our own way and we allow ourselves to, we hear the voice in our head, and then we believe some of those things. And that's the worst thing of all, is that you're believing this voice in your head just out of a routine.
Right.
And if we get over that and hear the voice for what she is, and then overcome that and realize that we are so much more than that, I think we could all get out of our own ways and move on. But easy said, hard done.
Very definitely. When you're talking about a thought habit, to
Hmm.
me, it's a bias and it comes out as a thought habit. So I don't even think about it until maybe even later. I will go back and think, why did I not try that? I would have been fine with that. Or that my biggest bitch, if you will, is the one that says, what will they think? What will the popular
Oh,
kids
that's a good
think?
one.
That one has
Hmm.
ridden my back for 61 years right now. So, I was glad to have
Hmm.
discovered and gotten rid of her for the most part, which was great. But so, what kinds of things did you do when you ran into some of that stuff? Do you remember any kind of wisdom you got from somewhere or anything like that?
I think that I had a turning point when I was enough to have a really great coach back in my early days at Assurant, the first time I
Oh,
was
wow.
leading an
Yeah.
internal function, and she would call out my limiting beliefs and say, that's not true. Is that really true? And I'd be like, yeah, I think it's true, but it wasn't true. It's just, I love how you called it a thought habit.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of those bad habits of something that you say and you don't even know that
Mm-mm.
you're thinking it, and then you've never challenged it because you think then it's true.
Right.
And so that she helped me for a while. It was her pointing them out to me.
Hmm.
And then after a while of that coaching, I could catch myself. And now I'm pretty quick at catching myself do it,
Uh-huh.
not perfect by any stretch. And it's way easier with other people. I'm always saying to other people, you know, say, I can't do that. And I'll say, you haven't done it yet.
Right.
Or just let's just turn that thought around a little bit. But you also said about how you worry about what will they think.
Mm.
And I think at that point in my life too, it was right about when I turned 40 that I wanted to let that go, but I wasn't quite there yet.
Hmm.
And I really desperately wanted to leave my job in insurance and do something more meaningful in the world, but it required a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And I was wearing these golden handcuffs, and on paper, I had the
Mm.
perfect job, but I didn't feel that way. And I certainly didn't feel fulfilled.
Hmm.
And it took me a lot longer than I would like to admit to build up that courage to finally leave that job and do something different. But when I finally did, and I left corporate America, took a very significant pay cut,
Mm.
went to work for a very large nonprofit, and most people have heard of Habitat for Humanity International,
Hmm. Yes.
and had just an awesome opportunity there. But that was my first reinvention, I think, where I went from this buttoned up, I straightened my hair every day and wore these really tall heels, to going to Habitat and then going through COVID and dyeing my hair purple and letting my curls come out and just being who I was. That was the first reinvention. And that was, I think, the first time that I felt like it doesn't matter what they think. If I want purple hair, I want purple hair.
If I want
I'm gonna do it.
tattoos, I got tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing about that is that my daughter was a teenager and she thought that was really cool. But to show her, like, it doesn't matter what people think. It only matters what you think and what you want. And so that was maybe the best part, is to be able to have those lessons with the next generation.
One of the things that I used to love to ask my girls, I have two girls. I used to love to ask them, you think you can't do it or you don't want to do it? There's a difference. You know, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't think that you have to make an excuse. Like, I can't do it. Yes, you can. You're making a choice not to because you don't want to. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons that they both have come back to me and said. With this, I felt pressure. My one daughter is in the insurance business, or no, mortgage business. And she was feeling a lot of pressure to go into an area that she really did not like, the customer relationship, the sales. She's very introverted. She just wants to be left alone. She wants to do the detailed work. And she wants to make sure that when someone gets their paperwork, it is right and that they're not going to get messed up on the back end, especially with buying a house. And so she was feeling a lot of pressure there. And I said, is it that you can't sell or you can't be nice to customers? Because I know you can. Is it you don't want to? And she said, I really don't want to. And I said, then don't. Just because it would be a big pay increase is not the reason ever that you should go do something you don't want to do. Isn't it amazing?
What great wisdom.
It's amazing to me. I've always been a little bit of a rebel, as I know you are as well, which is why I like you so much. But I've always been a bit of a rebel. So even when I was in the consulting world, I came from corporate America into consulting. And so I had a hard time sometimes absorbing the buttoned up expectations, because like my sister says, you can't put a lipstick on a pig. Because I was going to be who I was regardless. No, I know, but that's something that I find with my daughters in particular, that I'm proud that they have grown up feeling like that they can be who they are regardless. And that's something I think we need to give more of our children, that opportunity. But that's just my soapbox. Let me get back to your soapbox. So why do you feel so passionate about empowering women and girls? Was there a point in your life where it just turned that passion on?
I think I've always been passionate about empowering girls. And I remember many years ago wondering, what's my passion? What's my passion? But then also knowing that in my spare time, I would volunteer for nonprofits that served women and girls. And it's all about empowering women. And then other people would start describing me as, well, she's really passionate about empowering women. And I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you for naming that for me. But I just loved, I love to see women empowering women and women empowering themselves. And it just brings me a lot of joy. And then when I became a mother, then I wanted to also transfer that empowerment to girls as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think that's really important now, too.
We are getting close, so I'm going to have to ask you my 3 last questions. When I say wise woman, describe the picture you get in your head.
Wow. I think that the wisest woman I know is my daughter. She was born with so much wisdom, and you could see it at such a young age. And she struggled a little bit through middle school and high school because she's a 60-year-old woman stuck in this teenage body. But she has so many times said things to me where I'm like, wait, who's the mom here? But she's
Wow.
full of wisdom as a young woman. And my mother and I just had a conversation, and my mom said to me, I said something, and she said, I've always felt like you were the wise one of the two of us. And I said, I was just thinking about how my daughter Laura is the wise one. So we're both saying like this young woman has so much wisdom. And think about when we know, Julie, that as you get older and you have
Mm-hmm.
more and more experiences, you're just gaining so much wisdom. So I can't wait to see her when she'll
Sounds
be
like
ruling the world.
she sounds an old soul.
She's an old,
You
that's it. She's an old soul.
That's
Yep.
my oldest daughter as well. I think she's an old soul. It's just always seemed like she's more balanced than I ever
Mhm.
was. And when she did come across obstacles or whatever, she seemed to have dealt with it a lot better than I did. And we talked about that one time. And I said, is it just because you're not exuding all of this worry and fear and all this? Is you're keeping it inside because you're an introvert? And she goes, well, sometimes, but most of the time, I don't question myself. And to have that much confidence and that much
Mm.
wherewithal at a young age, and I'm hearing more and more of that in the younger millennials and older Gen Zs. Actually, they all seem to be just that little bit more um, aware of the world, a little bit more worldly, a little bit more collaborative, a
That
little bit
is
more.
true.
Isn't that one? I think it's wonderful. Frankly, I feel really good about the generation coming up. I just hope we don't mess it up before they get to where they can take it over.
Oh,
Uh,
let's not like ring.
okay. Last question. Where do you like to roam and what makes you restless?
Okay, I love to travel. One of the hardest questions to answer is what has been my favorite place to visit? And I don't know how to answer that because I rarely visit the same place twice.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just like new experiences. And so somewhere between Croatia and Nairobi and Rio, all the different things. I love to explore and experience new things. So even this summer, I didn't get to go on a big, huge trip this summer, but I went to the lake and I learned how to wake surf.
Oh,
And I
cool.
learned how to go. I didn't have to learn, but I went down a giant slip and slide, like
Yay.
with all the little kids. So I just like to try new things and experience new experiences. And I think what makes me restless is just when I feel like I'm not learning and growing.
Hmm.
And I can look back in there are a couple points in my career before I made a big turn where I was just antsy. I'm not,
Hmm.
how do and it took me a while to put my finger on it, but I'm not learning and growing. And even though you can get great feedback and people say, just keep doing what you're doing, but I'm just not really
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
And and so always want to make sure that I'm learning and growing. That's what learning and growing and taking action, I would say.
Yes.
But I think that's the big thing is that keep moving, keep changing, keep evolving.
Okay, very last thing. What's your wise word for our women that are listening now?
Oh my gosh, just I would say believe in yourself. Try to start listening to that voice in your head and really don't allow the chatter to get carried away and say things that are not true. Really challenge that voice. Ask that voice, is that really true? Or is that just, as you said, Julie, a thought habit, a bad habit that you can let
Hmm.
go of? And what are some thoughts that really would serve you better? and take the time to be more proactive and think about what is it that I really want, and what are some thoughts that would help me feel the way that I want, that would help me act the way that I want, that would help me get the results that I want. And you have to stop and have some proactive time and being intentional about it. But I think that would serve all of us.
I 100% agree. Libby, thank you so much for being on my first ever episode. I can't wait till it comes out.
I
Thank you
can't
so
even tell you
much.
what a pleasure this has been. I'm honored that you invited me, Julie. Thank you.
Oh, you are more than welcome. And for all of you listeners, pay attention to what we say on this webcast or podcast, because we are wise women.